ladies and gentlemen, this is the big man Boisterous coming to you with some Diamond League destruction from the xeQtr Plateau. Down here in the bottom left hand corner we have the red Zerg xeQtr facing up against the eRRe, the blue Protoss. As this game starts off, we have both little players saying their pleasantries and exchanging nice words. Neither of them is talking extremely much, so I don't think either of them is going to be cheesing in a considerable fashion. xeQtr is scouting with his first Overlord to his left side. Personally, when I play on this map, I like to scout to my close positions, just because if I do have somebody spawning up in the close positions and they decide to go for something like a 2-gate, this map has an extremely tiny rush distance, so it's extremely bad, you know. eRRe is going for a very powerful build on this map for Protoss, the Forge fast expands, and it looks like xeQtr, interestingly, is scouting to the same spot as Overlord is scouting. I don't know, I would much rather have him scout up here and have his Overlord just see if a base is there, and if the base was there, then go down there with a drone. Because Protoss doesn't really have the early wall-off capabilities to prevent scouting that a race like Terran does. It looks like xeQtr is going for 14 gas. I'm surprised that he's taking them at the same time. Mostly when you see people go for something like that, they go for the gas on 14 and then they drone, and then they get another drone to bring them back up to 14, and then they drop the pool. I'm also quite surprised that he's not going for the fast expand against Protoss on this map, especially considering the fact that he actually scouted this Forge first fast expand. And I mean, on this map it's just so easy to defend this choke with just queens and spines, because there's really no way for them to get around. There's no way for a Protoss army to get around it, and unless the Protoss rushes through something like Void Rays or a Void Ray Phoenix combination, which is easily countered by, you know, a 6-minute Overlord scout into their base, followed by an Evo chamber with some Spore Crawlers, because you only really need one at each base to defend against that. I really prefer to see Zergs go for the more risky 15 hatch, especially against Protoss. Looks like the Protoss is going to get his Nexus down first, which is not the best situation for Zerg. I would say that xeQtr either has to go for some kind of ridiculous 1-base play, or, you know, maybe a ridiculous 2-base play, or he just needs to double expand as soon as possible, or even triple expand to get ahead. Because, I mean, honestly, double or triple expand is extremely safe if your Protoss enemy is going for this kind of Forge first expand, because cannons don't move, and, you know, something that doesn't move can't do a whole lot of offensive damage. eRRe is even going for the full wall off. That's another thing that I don't really agree with as Toss. I would like to see him move this cybernetics core like here, and if he was going to go for the full wall off, put like a pylon here, just because it makes your wall a bit weaker, but it also gives you something that is easy to kill off and won't really screw up your build all that much. Especially since with a Forge fast expansion, typically go for super early upgrades, and you really don't want to kill off a gateway or and he actually cancels the cyber. Oh, that's gonna set him behind really far. Really far, actually. Wow, that was an odd play, to say the least. I don't quite know the point of that play. I'm befuddled right now at why he canceled his cyber core so late in the production cycle. It looks like xeQtr is getting a fairly good spread on everything. eRRe is hiding a probe up here, and I think xeQtr just saw it with that Overlord. I'm surprised he doesn't send a Ling up there to deal with it. I guess maybe he just wasn't looking. But looks like xeQtr is droning up fairly hard. I'm also surprised that he isn't taking a third, considering the fact that this Protoss has had his natural level for so long. Protoss also actually hasn't been probing too much, which is a fair surprise. I would think that if he had chrono boosted out probes, he could have had this field completely full by now. Protoss still isn't showing any signs of tech, probably because he got such a cybernetics core. Although with this pylon in the very back corner of his base, I think it might be Stargate play, just because he's really kind of to the back area. It might also be like a 6 gate or something like that, but most of the time when I see somebody put a pylon here, they're trying to hide their Stargate tech from overlords that are coming in from, you know, here, coming down and sweeping their base in this direction. It looks like he's dropping 7 gateway, 3rd gateway, so I don't think it's going to be crazy Stargate play. And it does look like we have xeQtr going for very heavy Baneling bust, which, you know, if somebody has absolutely no defensive units, it's something I agree with. I'm actually surprised that eRRe didn't get like 2 sentries out just so I could force field this ramp in case something like this happens. Or even, you know, 6 sentries out so that he can permanently force field. He has a lot of gas stockpiled. A lot of gas stockpiled, actually. And he's queuing up probes like a monster. So he really could have dropped like a lot more sentries, and that's going to be the bane of him. Because that's a lot of banelings. These things are going to be able to easily bust down this forge. Stop that forge field was a bit late to save that forge. It does look like the force field ramp, He does have 6 gate production right now, so I think we're in a good enough position to all these things. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, this is not a good situation for eRRe. Maybe it's more than I think these are going to go right into the middle line. We also have a lot more Zerglings massing up in the middle of the field, so he's also not setting them up. Or if he goes into Banelings, it's just setting up to kill all these zealots. Ooh, it looks like a big Baneling hit went off there, and he's down 14 workers. That's not a good position to be in, because that's a lot of damage that this semi-all-in has done. I think you could actually just call this a full all-in at this point. He's completely cut through production. And he's just going for this extremely heavy Zergling force. These zealots are the best forces that kind of spread out and stuff all the same. It does look like he's starting to stabilize. He's still not stabilized enough, though. All these Zerglings are still just wreaking havoc in his base. They're just doing so much damage, just in the buildings they're killing. Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't finished off his cyber core. If he finished off his cyber core, that would mean more sentries. Banelings are killing strings out. No problem, because zealots just clump up so easily. These Banelings going on at least half as easy. These zealots still have enough life to survive. He needs to start sniping these Banelings out of his base. There, those 2 are going to go down. These Zerglings did manage to break through the arc on the forward line. They get pulled off by a central zealot. So, you know, in general, this is a very, very damaging attack, and it looks like he's really not preparing for anything else. He doesn't have anything going up. I'd like to see him start a layer right now, just because he has the gas, he has the minerals, you know, why not? And, you know, take an extra expansion down here. But he's just doing so much damage. This is ridiculous amounts of damage right now. There's just not a lot that Protoss can do about something like this. I'm still amazed that this core is still alive. I think that if he managed to take out that cyber core, this game would have been long over, because he can just zealots so well with these speed plays. These zealots just wouldn't be able to catch them if he got the sentries and got rid of the cyber core. It does look like eRRe is starting to stabilize them, which is a surprisingly impressive thing. Especially after something crazy like that. But ooh, 7 Banelings just popped in the back. And it looks like they're going in. It's not a whole lot of damage for those 7 Banelings. They didn't take out a pylon, they did. These Zerglings keep running by with cybernetic skull. It's 88 on it. Tank cybernetic skull. Man. So lucky. And it does look like we have a Roach Warren, so I think he's going to just transition this into just a really heavy 2-base Roach push into winning the game. I'm not sure. The Protoss is just so far behind right now. He really needs to switch up to something crazy like Void Rays, I think, would be the trick. But even then, the Zerg xeQtr has already started. He has his layer. He can drop down a Hydralisk really fast. But I really think that Void Ray Colossus, he needs to be he has a ton of gas stockpiled to do it if he just cut Zealot production and just went for like a 5-century just permanent force field on this range. You can't do it with 6 centuries. So if you drop down one more century and just perma force field in his ramp, just held on until he could get Void out, I think he might be able to win. Just because xeQtr still isn't showing any signs of never mind, he's expanding. I was completely wrong there. So xeQtr is expanding. He's going for a secondary Baneling bust. So Air really needs to get those force fields down to be effective. In his army, that is not the position you wanted in Air. Banelings kill stuff. He managed to keep all 6 of his gateways alive though, which is pretty good considering how much stuff was going on in his base. He was just getting absolutely crushed, and it does look like he has gone up to 8 gate production. So you're right, he's going to transition into a super heavy Sentry Zealot build with barely any Stalkers, which when you're facing an army like this is something that I don't agree with. You really need those Stalkers to deal with this. You don't really need the Sentries so much, because the Sentries are great if you have good enough force fields and you have the Stalkers to kill the units that are trapped behind those force fields. But right now he doesn't have those Stalker numbers to be able to deal with something like this, and he just walled his entire army off, which is a bad decision, because this army is just going to get yeah, this is not a good situation. Those battles are sloppy as nuts. Just absolutely no competition when it comes to killing off those sentries. Oh man, this game just finished there, just in time to clean up those sentries, and I think Wall finishes off with these sentries. Oh, that thing just barely squeezed in past the warp gates, and I really think this is game over. He has a formidable Zealot army up here, but no, this is, just ridiculous Zerg production kicking in where he knows he's running out of confidence. Now he's just been running force to try to keep as many approaches alive as possible and just do as much damage. Pretty good force fields. I have to give it to those are nice force fields. But I just don't think it's going to be enough to fix this kind of infestation in his base. There's just a lot of circles and a lot of approaches that all have speed, and Hydralisks could pop out at any moment. He really just doesn't have destruction with something like this. And this is just, it's going to be game over. There's no way he's going to be able to do enough damage. I think these Zealots were just trying to stand over here and snipe off the Zerg. Eventually they'd say, hey, let's just go clean up some of that stuff, get us some extra points. But it's really not going to be. And Air drops the GG and leaves the game. Well, guys, this is the 7th game that I Boisterous have brought you. This one was sent in to me by xeQtr, and if any of you were wondering, that is how you pronounce that name. Trust me, I thought it was xeQtr too, and then I asked him, and he was like, "Oh, it's xeQtr," and I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." So, yeah. I think for my next uploads, I'm going to be doing probably a 3 or 4 game uploads to kind of spot on Zerg versus Zerg, because I can't really do a long Zerg versus Zerg because those things don't exist. So I'm probably going to be doing some mini game madness on Wednesday to bring in a lot of Zerg versus Zerg, because that's a matchup that's the only matchup I think I haven't touched on. I might also not have done PvT, but I think it's only Zerg versus Zerg. Because that matchup, games from that matchup are 7 minutes long, and I just can't even touch on them.